The small town of Watseka, Illinois is located about 50 miles south of Chicago and only a few miles from the Indiana border. The sensation that would come to be known as the Watseka Wonder had its beginnings there in July of 1877.
Well, Watseka Wonder, as you may know, dates back to the previous century, about the middle of the century it began. And it certainly is a legend to this area. It's a part of the history of this area.
I have found that most of the people in the town are very familiar with the story and have very different opinions. Those that think it's the most beautiful story, as well as, without a doubt, it's all true.
What do you know about what they call the Watseka Wonder House, the Roth House?
I heard my parents talk about it. That was long ago. So.
And what did they say?
Well, they knew about it. That's all I know. That's what they said.
About the possession
Right.
of lunacy venom and
Right.
the spooky stuff that used to happen over there. They had spiritualists and mediums and seancers.
The Watseka Wonder story involving two girls and two families. The first family is the Roth family. They had a daughter, Mary Roth, who died mysteriously when she was 18 years old. "12 years later, in 1877, Laurency Venom, a girl who was 14 years old and lived on the other side of town, and who was only 2 years old when Mary Roth died, she began having her own series of fits and seizures along the same lines as Mary Roth had. At one point, Laurency told the people she was communicating with that there was a spirit that wanted to come into her body, and that it was someone who knew someone here in the town. When the spirit came into her body, and within a few days, Laurency Venom, or Laurency under the power of Mary Roth, had convinced the Roth family that she was indeed their dead daughter.
Hello?
Hello, is this Joyce?
Yes, it is.
Hello, this is Christopher Sane. Can you kind of tell me where you are, kind of in the family tree?
Oh, well, I'm a great niece of Rancy's. My grandmother was Rancy's sister, and my grandmother's name was Florence.
So you are a great niece, is that what you said?
Yes.
Laurency? Are you familiar with the Watseka Wonder story?
Oh, yes, yes. My mother told us about it, but we were not ever supposed to mention it to Aunt Rancy when she visited, and we didn't.
Why was that?
She didn't want to talk about it, and didn't want to be reminded of what had happened, is what we were told.
It was everywhere. It was all over the news, and it was everywhere. And even the Dalai Lama back then was informed of the case and his opinion versus reincarnation.
I would think it was possession. Reincarnation would mean that you had died and had come back.
Would you guys see the Watseka Wonder as a possession story or a reincarnation?
It's one of the most unusual cases on record, spirit possession. Now, 3/4 of the world's population believes in reincarnation. But the prevailing view is you die, and then you come back into another life as an infant. Here we have a case where a dead person stepped into the body of a young girl.
This is written in a pamphlet called The Watseka Wonder. It was written by Dr. E.W. Stevens, who was a first-hand witness to the latter half of the story.
Lurancy Venom had never been sick a day in her life, lying as if dead. She spoke freely, telling the family what persons and spirits she could see. Among those mentioned were her brother that had died when Lurancy was but 3 years old. Before I can continue, it is important to go back to the beginning. An 18-year-old girl named Mary Roth.
There was a young lady by the name of Mary Roth that was born in the mid-1800s. And by the age of 6 months, she began to have some seizures. At that time, they referred to them as fits.
Mary Roth had a very troubled childhood. She had fits from an early age.
From about the age of 6 months to about 19, she would have these episodes.
This went on for quite some time, for months, and the spells and the seizures grew worse and worse over time.
Fits in which she spoke in foreign tongues, languages she couldn't possibly know.
Annalise Michel goes back to her case. She was actually a very devout Catholic, but yet she had an illness to a point where she had to take medication, and it opened her up to unfortunately receive demonic attacks.
I was possessed when I was 13 years old. It took a long time, and it was difficult for me to breathe. I had something like, why I can't breathe. I had it very, very, very much in that time. And then she told me, don't you have problems with breathing, Davy? And then I said, I actually do. I have a lot of problems with breathing at the moment also. And then she told me, that's because you have a demon hanging around your neck.
Mary Roth was a very troubled young girl.
Mary became a raving maniac of the most violent kind.
She became increasingly violent, and then she also began showing behaviors such as being able to read through envelopes or discern through objects, and showing the characteristics of a clairvoyant.
Clairvoyancy, that's the ability to be able to communicate with the other side. She was actually able to read things through bandages, sealed envelopes. She was able to read books without even opening them. She was very well tapped in to the spirit world.
What do you know about the Mary Roth house?
I just know that Mary Roth, the beginning of the story, there was something, she was sick, and they used leeches or something, the old school.
In the early days of modern medicine, bleeding was actually used to try to balance the minds and the bodies of people that were either physically or mentally ill. Doctors would apply leeches to their faces, to their temples, or other parts of their bodies, and then the leeches would be allowed to actually drain blood from the people who were sick.
Mary had done bloodletting on herself, where she would take leeches and apply them to her skin because she claimed that she had a pain in her head that she wanted to have dissolved.
Mary Roth would apply leeches to her temples and found great pleasure in this, treating them like her little pets.
The most interesting thing about Mary is that she had an obsession with blood, her blood.
Mary was obsessed with bloodletting. She would cut herself to drain all her blood.
One time she ran out in the backyard and took a knife to her forearm and began slicing herself open.
Helen had a daughter named Kelly. Was a normal child, a normal teenager. That girl went through what can only be classified as a possession.
She started changing a lot. She was having trouble at school. Her personality just changed.
Kelly would stand in the middle of the night standing and staring at her parents. It was obvious, you know, by the look in her eye and the thoughts that she was having that she wanted to kill her family.
I kept getting this feeling like I was worthless. There was nothing for me left to do but just kill myself. And
she began cutting herself. Cuts that were not to relieve any sort of pain that she was going through. The cuts where she felt that if she harmed herself, she wouldn't have to harm her parents.
I tried cutting my arms and taking lots of pills.
Did it hurt it when you cut?
No.
Not at all? Did
No.
you cut it deep?
Yeah, I cut them pretty deep. They got so bad where it started scarring up my arms, and I tried covering them up so that way no one's seen them.
With nothing but herself in the room, she began to tear the flesh off her arms with her own fingers. When they caught her and they saw what was happening, they couldn't believe that the skin and the flesh was just hanging on her arms.
I used to cut myself when I was possessed. I remember waking up and that my bed was full of blood. And I don't even remember what happened. I just know that there was laying a razor beside my bed. I woke up and I saw everywhere blood on my arms, on the sheets. I cut myself with a razor blade, with glass, everything that was sharp enough to cut myself and to make myself bleed.
So I'm just trying to imagine, when you cut your arm, you didn't feel the pain at all?
No, it felt good. It just felt like all my stress and all that was just leaving my body.
Oh, you're releasing the stress.
My mother cried if I cut myself, and I would laugh very mean at her. And it felt healthy to cut myself. I became obsessed with seeing my own blood. If I saw my own blood, it felt satisfying. Something in me screamed that I shouldn't do it.
Sometimes it was just to cut it and release and let it out. And then sometimes it was do it deeper, do it harder, you know.
What was telling you? Was it something else?
It was something like...
Somebody telling you to do that?
Yeah, just like a feeling. I kept getting that...
I should do this.
Yeah, like a push. Just do it, do it, do it.
After that fit, where she cut her arm, she went into a very violent seizure or fit, and it lasted several days, and 5 men had to restrain her to keep her down and keep her in bed.
Although her weight was only about 100 pounds and she had lost nearly all her blood.
Now, with this whole type of situation, the little girl also had gained a tremendous amount of strength, and when that would happen, it would take 4 to 5 people to be able to hold her down and restrain her from her actually hurting herself.
I got this really cold feeling over my body and just went blank. And when I came to, I had 3 to 4 bounty hunters and police officers holding on to me.
Valor with me! Fight! Get off of my son now!
Marcus fell down, his arms went like this, and he started shaking, and he was foaming out of his mouth. His eyes was dilated back into his head, so I immediately thought he's having a convulsion. But when I touched him, I could feel energy. It was like electricity coming from him.
You're fine, Marcus, you're fine. Get him up on his feet now, guys. Mike, get over here. Come on. He's fine, Marcus. Get him out of here, take him out.
Growling, saying things, you know, that I normally wouldn't say, you know. Trying to be physical with people.
Oh, come into me, you bastard. Come into me.
His eyes were glowing, reddish looking, and it looked like his whole facial features was trying to change on me. And he was cussing. He lunged at me.
With me! Right.
And he was literally trying to hurt me, and they was all on him trying to hold him back.
Come out of him! I command you! Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil! Thou art with me! Right! Sword in my right! Come into me! I command you! Now look at me! Look at me! I fear you not.
The Roth family, over this time of trying to figure out, they had literally nearly 2 decades of trying to figure out what was wrong with their daughter. They tried all types of treatments, went to all kinds of doctors, and they were at the point of taking her to an asylum for the insane.
At a loss of what else to do, her parents decided to commit their daughter to a state mental institution.
In 1989 was the first time I ever came down to the state hospital. The reason how I found it was when I was a young boy. We were driving on I-57, my mom, my dad, my brother, myself in the car, driving down the interstate. Me and my brother were acting like 5- and 8-year-olds do. My dad's pulled over and said, you know, if you guys keep acting like that, I'm taking you to the Nut Hut in Mantino. Total on the hospital campus at years was 10,000 population, half male, half female. The building that I'm in front of right now is the Morgan Cottage. Morgan housed all females, upwards of 200 to 224 people. Female patients of all different types of diagnoses, from schizophrenia, from manic depression, even bipolar before it was diagnosed. I mean, at one time in these type of institutions, you could be institutionalized if you couldn't sleep and you had epilepsy or you had autism. They'd walk in that door and never walk out.
What are you feeling, Rick?
This is really
scary for you?
Well, first of all, when I arrived at the location, one of the key things that I share is I do not want to know any history of the location or about the location itself. Okay, we have bed. So we have. It's not just a row, one bed. There's bed. I feel like down through here is where I feel bed.
Well, look in the room. Look behind me. If you look around, you'll see the windows. Where you saw a window, there was a radiator. Where you saw a radiator was a bed. That means the patient slept there. Patients for 40 or 50 years were here. Well, the room in here is the old kitchen for the whole entire building. Every single person that was in this dormitory of the 200 and so females, most of their meals were prepared in here.
So this is the female dorm?
This is a female dormitory strictly. The room right off to the left right here is the dining hall. That's where they all ate at. 3 squares a day, every day like clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, being about 11 o'clock at night, they're asleep. But they're not really asleep.
Mary Roth was taken away to a mental asylum. In those days when Mary would have been put into the institution, mental health care as we know it today didn't exist. Treatments at that time were little more than keeping the insane away from the rest of us.
Stretchers have to go through since this is the medical surgical facility.
Oh.
Yeah. That's right.
How long have you been working here?
I worked for the St. Joseph Museums, Inc. for 25 years, but the Glore only became part of us just a few years ago, so I had to learn a lot. Now, I wanted to be a psychiatrist when I grew up, but I couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
The belief was that they were possessed by evil spirits, and that persisted into the 17th and 18th centuries. Often the mentally ill became victims of bizarre exorcisms or casting out rituals. This is a tranquilizer chair. It was developed by Dr. Benjamin Rush, who was the father of American psychiatry, also one of the original signers of the Declaration of Independence. The chair was to calm an agitated patient. He believed that if you strap them in, obviously their muscles are going to relax. From here, he could administer treatment. They would be totally immobilized. Obviously, you've got the hood for sight, legs are strapped, arms are strapped. They might be in this chair for up to 6 months, however long it took to calm them.
They never get out for 6 months?
No, they could be here up to 6
my
months.
God.
That's the reason for the bucket. Obviously, you've
So they're
human beings.
So they would be in a gown then, I guess. With
Right,
yeah.
right. They would be in a gown. And obviously, you need to take care of certain needs.
That's sad.
These are trephination tools. We know that in prehistoric times they were drilling holes in skulls. There's been some debate as to what they were trying to accomplish. But we know that they were experimenting with how to heal the brain. There's a trephination drill from 1865. A copper ceremonial trephination knife. The middle is a bronze stone hammer, serrated edge from 1850 that would have been used to cut the skull. They would have thought possessed by demons because they didn't understand the concept of epilepsy. To them, what they were accomplishing with trephination was releasing the demons, whatever was disturbing this person.
Stevens was fighting to keep her out of the institution. If you really think she's the devil, wait till you put her inside the insane asylum. You really will bring the devil.
This is a Utica crib. It's a restraint device from the 19th century. The whole concept came to America brought by a French physician in 1846. Basically, the crib was to keep a person in a certain place. From there, they could deal with whatever therapy they deemed necessary. This particular Utica crib we displayed by installing the door upside down so people can see how terribly scratched it had become in being used.
As you told us, Kathy, there was bite marks and fingernail scratchings on the bottom and on the top, as we can see.
Lots of wear and tear.
I mean, mass madness.
We have an original restraint cage that's a gray steel from Fulton, Missouri, which was State Lunatic Asylum number 1. Up to 3 people might be stuffed in one box.
Treatments in those days involved locking the insane into cages or into straitjackets, bleeding them with leeches, or giving them what were called cold water baths, which meant putting them in tubs full of scalding water and then dunking them into icy cold water as a shock to the system in hopes that it might cure their insanity.
They kept them in here in this. She wants me to get in. Are these stable? Okay. I got to tell you this too. It was either the water temperature was different in different tubs. It was either very, very hot or very, very cold. They were trying to shrink. They were trying to shrink me. They were trying to make me small. Or I was in here for many hours.
Poor Mary Roth was kept in the water cure at the asylum for over 18 months, but all to no purpose except pain.
After a lifetime of strange and violent fits and seizures, there was screaming. The relatives ran upstairs to find her having one of these violent fits, and as they say in the pamphlet, at which time she expired.
We've been trying to find the graves of the Venom and Roth family, and we finally found them here, roughly about 50 feet apart. This is the Venom plots. Like I said, roughly about 50 feet away over there, where Mary Roth and her family is buried.
Mary Roth died July 5th, 1865.
Now, that very well could have been the end of the story, and nothing more might have ever been written or ever have been written about it. 12 years later, in 1877, Lorancy Venom, a girl who was 14 years old and lived on the other side of town, and who was only 2 years old when Mary Roth died, she began having her own series of fits and seizures along the same lines as Mary Roth had.
When we moved in, my son was about 2 years old, and we were told, my wife and I were told in the process of the purchase of the house, it had to be released to us in disclosure, that there was a potential of this house being haunted. Well, everybody knows that this house was the Venom house. Lorancy Venom lived here, but she was possessed by the spirit of Mary Roth.
It's really a big part of the history of this area. This is quite a historic area anyway.
Our main street has a lot of the original old buildings on it. I'm sure you saw the one that had the Opera House. We have a lot of history here, I think especially in the old homes.
A lot of the big houses in this city were built from about 1865 to about 1930.
One of the most interesting things here is that every old house, every old Victorian has a name. And if someone will say, well, you know, that was the Venom house or that was the BB house. All these homes have names. Most of them never change. They've lived there, they've had that name for 50 years.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I believe in everything.
The address was published in a book, and we really kind of played it off, really didn't think too much about it. It did nothing but intrigue us, so of course we purchased it, and when we moved in, again, my son was about 2 years old, and we noticed that he was playing with what appeared to be an imaginary friend.
Really all started, I was just in my playroom, I was playing with my little cars, and then I heard something. I looked up and I saw a girl.
You wasn't scared at all? You didn't
No,
feel scared?
I didn't feel scared at all. I thought she was just a plain old human. And I thought she always slept like downstairs because I didn't know she was really a ghost.
Well, then I asked him, do you know what her name is? And he turned and he looks and he goes, well, her name is Mary.
Her name was Mary.
Now, we never spoke about that story with our son. Our son was only 2 years old. He never even would have heard that. There was no way that he would have known that there was any attachment to the Mary name, or the age, or the fact that it was a girl.
Haunting is what most people refer to. Oh, I live in a haunted house. They think there's a ghost there. A possession, however, it is pure evil, and that is what is left in this house.
It's always been freaky. That house has always been freaky. I lived 3 blocks away on 5th Street.
Oh, yes, fine.
Yeah, and as a teenager, when I first read, we got the book, you know, we took turns from the library at school. I read the first chapter and that was it. And I couldn't read anymore. I had nightmares for a year and I never finished the book.
We're here with Scott. Scott owns the original Venom house, and we're in this top bedroom here. And Scott, what's so special about this bedroom?
This is the northeast bedroom of the original house, and this is actually, from as far as we can tell and have been told, this was Lorancy Venom's actual bedroom. And this is the house in the room where Lorancy Venom was possessed by the spirit of Mary Roth from the house on the other side of town.
I know you remember me, I'm Jay. As I was little, you used to play with me when I was around 2. You should remember me. So if you are in this room at this time, please at least give us a sign.
I felt my shirt tug just now on the bottom of my shirt. Okay. I felt something. Who's ever here with us, how old are you? What's your name? Do you want us to leave?
Possession, very common. It can happen with children. And when they are inflicted, you never know what's actually going to come through them. You don't know if it's going to be something on a negative level, or they might be channeling through something on a positive.
It was at that time that a young girl named Lorancy Venom began manifesting what were thought to be strange trances or seizures or spells that would cause her to lose consciousness for sometimes hours and sometimes days.
I couldn't move. I was conscious. I couldn't even close my eyes. The only thing I could do was breathing.
A catatonic state is when a person falls into almost like a very deep trance. They become totally unresponsive to all stimuli in the external world. They don't react when they're spoken to. They don't react when they're touched. They can even be poked, pinched, and even hurt without any response. Their bodies become very rigid. In fact, in earlier times, people in catatonic states were often considered to be dead because their breathing was barely visible and noticeable. Sometimes people were buried alive.
A catatonic state can it also be done by the spirits inhabiting these people and causing them to go into this deep, deep sleep and come back with a tremendous amount of information, but then wake up from it and not remember anything that they experienced.
I was born premature, and I died 26 times, and a lot of people believe that could be a big part with why I see ghosts and why I go through what I go through.
When Michael was born, he died 26 times. My mother always said there was something special about Michael.
I always thought when he was first born, I thought he was special. At the hospital, I paced the floor, and I thought something was going to happen, something was wrong.
They took Michael from me, and Pratt Whitney donated a jet to send him to Washington, D.C. to be put on a machine called ECMO.
I spent the night with her at the hospital, waiting for phone calls for them to tell us that Michael was okay. And once we got a phone call telling her that they have to take him off the machine because there's blood clots in the machine, and they have to take him off and clean it, and they don't know if he was going to survive.
Michael survived. I got him 2 months later. We went home. I never felt so alone walking out of that hospital. Everybody stopped and just stared at us as we walked out. Michael started going into these paralyzed states.
I would wake up in the paralyzed state, and I'd feel myself kind of just slip away from my body and into a different realm, and it feels like being in between awake and sleeping. Like your mind is awake, but your body's sleeping.
The longest it lasted was 6.5 hours. Michael could hear me. He could hear everything that was going on around him, but he could not move.
And I can't control the way what happens or what goes on, and sometimes I have visions and I hear things. It's the scariest thing ever.
This felt like a very heavy, evil force which controlled me.
This little girl was thrown around the house like a little rag doll.
It started progressing worse with Michael. The house started getting really dark. Every night there was screaming, and his head just started flashing back and forth as something was just slapping him.
I thought he tripped. Oh. And I said something about him tripping, and he told me, no, something just pushed me.
Head move.
I saw his head move, yes, and go up against the wall.
He threw his head back and his arms went out, and he started jerking a little bit, and he raised his head up, and whenever he raised his head up, his eyes were pure white, and he started shaking his head around. I was scared.
Lurancy was attacked with a most violent pain, which caused her to double herself back until her head and feet actually touched.
This went on for quite some time, for months, and the spells and the seizures grew worse and worse over time.
People around her feared that she would die.
She said, I need to help you now. If you don't want to have help, you're going to die.
When she would awaken, she would have no memory of any of these events, but of course, to people who saw this from the outside, they assumed that she was mentally ill.
So did you actually meet Ramsey?
Yes.
And how old was she when you met her?
She used to come visit my grandmother in Kansas when I was about, I suppose, 7 or 8.
I guess it must have made you somewhat frightened to talk to her at first then.
It did at first. My brother and I kind of walked around her at first when, because we heard this story and we weren't real sure.
I think some of them thought she belongs in a mental institution. That girl's not right.
Until finally, in January of 1878, on the advice of their local minister and really at a loss of what else to do, her parents, Tom and Lorinda Venom, decided to commit their daughter to a state mental institution.
It seemed to be the general feeling among all the townspeople. Save the parents and commit the girl to an asylum.
Had to put her in the hospital a couple times. It was more like a mental hospital or rehab is what they called it.
This was the family shame. If someone had epilepsy or various different disorders like that,
right.
They thought they were just mentally crazy.
That's right.
And they'd either lock them in a closet, put chains on them, not let them out of the house, or bring them to places like this.
In 1929, a patient was observed swallowing various objects. She complained of stomach pains, so they took her into surgery. In that process, they found 1,446 things in her stomach. Tops of salt and pepper lids, nails, that type of thing. She died during surgery. They thought at the time perhaps it was an attention factor. She was maybe looking for attention. We now know it's a disease called pica.
Okay, I want to do this.
Rick was dead on. I mean, he knew nothing about the case. He knew nothing about the asylum we went to. I mean, he knew everything like he was just back there in that time.
At night, you go across to the other dormitory, which is considered to be Morgan 2. When the window's boarded up, you would see shadows basically stand in front of windows, and they would do this.
Originally, I was sitting against the door right there listening. You saw something walk between the two rooms in this hallway. You then started to hear like a...
Like a rocking back and forth. Somebody humming.
Okay. Like somebody humming and rocking. When I got to the door frame right in front of us right here, you got the smell of a corpse.
Stop. Okay, hold up. Come here. Hold up. Hold up. I mean, stop. Look at that. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like they're looking in at us. Something black and cold is looking in at us.
Yeah. And those windows are boarded up completely.
Right. You can't
all the
see
way.
It looks, I mean, you see something black and move, from looking out, from the outside in.
Yeah.
Like staring at us, watching us.
Can I say something to you? So I'm speaking so they can hear me too, okay? I want them to hear what I share with you so they understand, okay? Okay, as I'm walking away, do you know if there was any lobotomies here?
Okay, guys, whatever this thing is, it is following you. So I'm gonna come out here and see if we can capture it. Man, it is cold out here. 44 degrees. It's moving.
As I'm walking, someone just told me, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." The one that's having me sway is, I almost feel like it has a mental capacity of a small child. Someone just told me, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." Again, I hear the word mommy, mommy, mommy.
After reviewing what we captured on the thermal, it looks like a small child.
It was at that point that a man named Asa Roth entered the picture. Asa Roth was a local Watseka man who had a very, as it turned out, close connection to the case. Years before, in 1865, his daughter Mary had suffered from the exact same types of spells that he had heard Lorenzi Venom was suffering from. At the time, he had placed his daughter Mary into a mental institution where she had tragically died.
They certainly saw a comparison, a similarity between what was happening to Lorenzi Venom and what had happened to their daughter. After all this happened, and after her death, the parents became convinced that she'd actually been possessed by evil spirits. And they became spiritualists. And that was their solution, or their answer, to what had happened to their daughter.
Spiritualism is a religion, and they believe very strongly in communicating with the spirit world.
They did seances here in this house, and there were supposedly other possessions of people who then participated in those seances.
We just went back there, Chris, 4 weeks ago and did a real seance there like they did 130 years ago. Except we did it with all brand new gadgets, the biometric, the ovulus, the paranormal.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
Wow, I'm
every
impressed.
device you could think of. Laser grids, you name it. And then we had a medium contact Mary.
They heard.
And then asked the same question they asked 130 years ago.
Who is with us today, child?
What we found out through the EVPs, the thermal imagery,
It's a face.
is mind-blowing.
Don't you like being filmed when you eat? Hey guys.
Good morning, buddy.
Hey Bill. Morning.
Good morning, sir.
So Rick,
Yes.
you have no idea where we're going.
I have no idea. I'm just following you.
Okay, well that's a bad thing. Well, you know nothing about this case, correct?
Absolutely nothing. I was just told to meet you here at this certain
Do you
time.
know the names of the people
No, I
at all?
don't. No.
Okay.
Is this it?
Okay.
Immediately when I arrived there, I walked up on the porch and shared with the producers, the Booth brothers, that there was a young female energy at the top of the stairs and wanted to share it with us. Okay, I'm getting there's a girl in here, and I'm feeling that as I walked up to the building, she wanted me to look inside, so as I looked inside, she was at the top of the stairs. Don't touch this room.
Do you know anything about the room behind you? This one here?
Don't go there. Don't go there. She was brought here. They thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't like this. I didn't like this. Is there an R? I also feel like she's trying to tell me like an R. There's an R, like I don't know if that's her name, but there's something to do with an R name, like a real short R name. She's very sad. She's very, very sad.
We were not ever supposed to mention it to Aunt Rancy when she visited, and we didn't.
Why was that?
She didn't want to talk about it, and didn't want to be reminded of what had happened, is what we were told.
I don't tell many people I was possessed, actually. But if I tell them, they get that strange look in their eyes.
I mean, I had a lot of friends, but I didn't talk to them about that because I thought they would think I'm a little crazy.
It's not an easy subject to talk to someone about, and I know 99% of the people I tell don't believe it or have doubt about it, so it makes me uncomfortable, to openly talk about it.
As the years went on, Michael continued to see spirits.
After reviewing what we captured on the thermal, it looks like a small child. Look at the eyes.
Okay, shh. Please. It would be cool. This is really cool. So, the little black thing with a head and shit?
Uh-huh.
So, what is down there that would do that?
We light it up?
Well, we'll see if it moves first. You see it, Scott? What does it look like to you? Don't mind the people in the back.
It looks like somebody. Oh, see it turning?
Doesn't look big. It looks like somebody's sitting down. But it's got a head and a body. They don't even know it. You see that?
Uh-huh.
It's actually moving.
It's growing.
Here, let's slide it up, see what it is.
Whoa.
Keith brought his thermal imager down, and we locked onto it, and there we saw was this entity, this dark shadow in the hallway. I thought you were an unbeliever, man.
We're gonna walk up to it?
Yeah, walk up to it. What do you see?
Phil actually walked up to it, and he touched it. There was nothing there. We had 2 cameras rolling. I mean, it was creepy. I mean, it was like some kind of small creature or this childlike thing.
Right there in front of you, man. This thing is small enough to where it looks like it's just the right size, right at the level of the windowsill, which would make it just a little bit over 3 foot tall. I can't tell if it's a boy or girl, but at least it's something there that we can't explain what it is.
It's definitely exactly what I see.
Exactly?
I mean, it's dead on, and it's staying there.
Yeah, I'm filming the thermal imager, you see.
The way that the body is just shaped, and the way that it just flows there is exactly what I see.
My parents brought me to a medium, a very good psychic. And she said, "You are possessed, Davy, and you need help."
Was it disease that dethroned her reason and maddened her brain until she sought her own and others' lives? This helpless young lady was transformed into a screaming maniac.
It was at that point that a man named Asa Roth entered the picture. He convinced the Venoms to allow their daughter to be hypnotized or mesmerized by a spiritualist whose name was E. Winchester Stevens. This Dr. Stevens came into the story and managed to hypnotize the Rancy, and she was able to then clearly communicate that she was talking to spirits of the dead on the other side.
Rancy, we need you back, Rancy. Come back. Rancy, come back to us. Rancy, is that you?
I was sitting in a chair. She said, "Close your eyes, Davy." And she was closing her eyes. She said, "And now you close your eyes." And then she said, every dark force gets pulled out of you right now.
During these trances of which she would remember nothing, she would speak in other voices, different entities that would make themselves known through her.
Possessed by 5 different spirits?
Who are you?
Katrina Hogan.
How old are you?
63 years old.
Her parents are mystified when other personalities claim to be speaking through her.
We got approximately 19 different types of fragments that had come through. Also, you have to understand with the box, you're not always hearing everything in real time. So we record everything that we do so we can actually go back and run through and section off each segment that comes through. You may have more than one entity that's coming through at a time. Somebody that wants to tell a story, you might have another entity that doesn't want them to tell the story. So you can actually hear intermingling or conversations that are transpiring back and forth on the other side.
Over 100 years ago, they did a seance here to try and get answers to problems that they were having with the family. We are now coming in 100 years plus, and we're going to ask the same questions. We also have a lot of new gear that's been designed specifically for this investigation. Is a new design of lasers. This is a system that, if you actually look at it without the special goggles that we have, you will go blind. What we're hoping is, with these new laser systems, it will draw the energy in like a moth to the flame.
The idea is to see if we can't get a little bit difference in the convergence pattern, give us a different UV spectrum in the room, something the camera might be able to pick up.
We're going to kind of do a small little seance type thing, not like the old style. Okay? You got your hand on a biometric reader that Bill's built for us, specifically for you to do this, okay? It's designed to get up here that while our psychic has his hand on this, and he's asking questions and he's getting answers to see if his body changes in any way.
I'm seeing a fluctuation here that I think corresponds with when I think you're hearing something.
They were brought in to be able to help the young girl. Was she communicating and establishing with them? I believe so. And I believe each and every one of these different spirits were coming through her, and they were coming up with phenomenal information.
How did you get here?
Through the air.
My father came to me and he said, "Davy, those are not your eyes. I am not looking at your eyes. I had the devil's eyes."
She warned him not to come any closer. She did not like to be touched.
Something changed in me, I could feel it. I felt anger.
I just started getting really mean, and I didn't like nobody. I just wanted to stay in my room and listen to the music. And
I was fighting a lot with my parents.
I kept wanting to stab them and hurt them really bad, watch them bleed for some odd reason.
Almost like somebody else is taking you over.
Yeah, and I tried to start harming people.
At one moment I got a vision of me running up to him, attacking.
Was something
telling you to do that?
I kind of had a feeling like they're doing you wrong. You should just hurt them, just stab them, and it was horrible.
The poor victims of physical disease and spiritual infestation have little chance to recover if so little is known of the real evils.
Now, when she found some of these ghosts to not be very friendly, in fact, very dangerous and negative, he sent her to search for another spirit that he found could be more helpful to her case.
Are you getting anything, Bill?
Yeah.
Now? You're seeing different changes now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because her hand's on top of mine.
I'm sorry?
Her hand
Which
is
hand?
on this sheet. Her hand.
She's touching my metric?
She's
I can see
getting any change?
we're seeing a big change over here in the voltage reading on the 3 fingers. It's almost all the way to the top right now.
She's holding my.
Do you usually get that signal?
She's touching my.
And it all just dropped off, and that's going back up again.
At one point, Lorancy told the people she was communicating with that there was a spirit that wanted to come into her body, and that it was someone who knew someone here in the town.
What is your name?
Who is with us today, child? Who are you?
Her name is Mary Roth.
Just give me a roll off again.
What is your name?
This is Mary.
Big response.
We got some serious shit up here.
When you get startled on set is when something happens that should not be happening. The psychic was speaking, trying to bring whatever it was out. From the front door of the bedroom, it slammed.
Roth?
Roth, R-O-F-F.
That's her. It's this lady here. Okay, I need to share with you that there was a female up in this front bedroom. This lady that I'm sharing thoughts with is that lady.
Thus reaching the sane mind of the girl and a better class of spirits, a contract was made.
Mary had a chance to come back into a body, and she took it.
When Lorancy awoke from her trance that day, she was no longer Lorancy Venom. She was Mary Roth.
Mary Roth. Mary Roth.
In conversation about her former life, she spoke of cutting her arm. She proceeded to slip up her sleeve as if to exhibit the scar.
This is not my arm. That one's in the ground.
The first time that we actually did the audio, we had gotten some very disturbing actual entities that seemed to be coming over. A lot of them were help me. When we asked certain things as if it was a crime, an entity came over and said, stop, that was enough. They didn't want to pursue the conversation. They abruptly stopped John Whitman in his tracks. They wanted to deter us, almost as if there was something that they had to hide or a secret that they had within the walls of this residence.
A lot of the crew have been saying they've been getting a bad vibe from this place the entire time we've been here.
They should. My personal opinion is that the Roths brought it with them, They were spiritualists, and they did hold seances here. So I believe that they have opened a porthole.
Child put in there too. She's seen crying, no lights, frightened. As I walked through the rooms, through the home, I felt the sadness. I felt the confusion. I felt the emotion.
Through the Watseka Wonder investigation, we got over 108 EVPs. Ones that would say like, "Daddy, where's Mommy?" Just really creepy, unidentifiable voices. I mean, there were no children in the rooms, whether at the asylum or at the house. I mean, it's very creepy to go into an 18th century house, and it's just full of sound when you get it back to the studio.
These doors, just want you to know these doors remain shut. Lock me. She's saying lock me. I feel like there was some abuse here. Don't go in there. Bad memories. Remember. The spiritual energy that I connected with wanted me to help her find the answers because of the questions we've had that has been there for many, many years.
Why did you visit Rosemary Venom?
She needed me to help her.
She needed me.
She knew.
No.
Okay, I'll help, okay? She wanted to help her. She was going through some things that...
You possessed her.
Why that word?
You came into her. You possessed her.
Isn't liking that at all.
She wants to know where you got that.
This is written in a journal, diary from a doctor.
That's the words that is written, Mary. He's reading from that.
On the 11th day of February 1878, they sent the girl to Mr. Roff's, where she met her pa and ma.
She needed me. I understood.
She lived here.
Yes.
As you.
And Rancy went to live with the Roffs for a time.
Rancy went to live in the Roff household. The Venoms allowed this, thinking it might be the only way to help their daughter. And during those months, she knew nothing of the Venom family, other than they were friendly, polite strangers.
Sister. We are here to help.
Sister.
Mother.
Mother.
Is your sister here too? Do you want me to know about your sister?
When word spread of this, Mary Roff's mother and her older sister Minerva immediately came to the house to see what was going on. As Rancy was sitting in the window looking outside and saw the two women approach the house, she said, "Look, there comes Ma Nervy," a nickname for her older sister that hadn't been used in more than 12 years since Mary Roff had died.
Can you remember some of the things your mom told you? As I recall, Mother just told us that she took over Rancy's body and that she recalled lots of things that she wouldn't ordinarily have known about Mary Roff as a girl.
It was hard for even the most skeptical not to believe there was something supernatural about her. Could it be possible the gulf of death had been bridged with the gates of heaven left open? Mary has control of Rancy Venom and will retain control till she is restored to her normal condition. then Mary will leave.
Mary told the Venoms and the Roths that Lorancy had to go to heaven to be with the angels, and that she needed to be gone to be cleansed and to be healed.
What strange freaks.
Now this certainly confounded people here in town because Mary had been dead for 12 years and no one had expected her to return. They did test her, or try and test her knowledge of events and things that had happened and family affairs and anything that they could think of.
She recognized friends, associates, distant cousins, all people who only Mary Roth would have known.
She knew their nicknames, she knew their habits, she knew things that had happened to them. She talked about things that had occurred while Mary was actually living.
And she looked at the hat and said, "That is the hat I used to wear when I wore my hair short." And she picked it up and she was just in awe that they still had it. She put the doubting Thomases to shame. And within a few days, Lorancy Venom, or Lorancy under the power of Mary Roth, had convinced the Roth family that she was indeed their dead daughter.
From the wild, angry, ungovernable girl to be kept only by lock and key, the girl has now become mild, docile, polite, and timid, knowing none of the family, but constantly pleading to go home.
When Lorancy awoke from her trance that day, she was no longer Lorancy Venom. She was Mary Roth. She didn't recognize the house she was in, which was of course the Venom house. She didn't recognize Tom and Lorinda Venom, who were her own parents, but she did recognize Asa Roth as her father. The spirit that Lorancy found to help her on the other side was one who would be very familiar to Asa Roth. It was Mary Roth, his daughter, who had died 12 years before.
Can you tell us, Mary, about your father? Respect him.
Remember. I think you will see the time when you will wish you had sent her to the asylum.
I probably think the most scariest thing that just blew us all away was when the door slammed. I mean, there's Rick Hayes. He just set the ghost off, and suddenly the door just slammed so hard. I mean, it came off the hinges.
What the hell was that?
I mean, we ran out there, checked it out. There's nobody even there at all. I mean, there was something in that room.
This is the door that led over here. I was standing right here. John Whip was in front of me. Rick was in the room. You were over about where you're at right now.
Correct.
That is the door that opened up and it slammed. And that's
Push it
pretty
big
much
hard.
the way it slammed. Child. Hurt. Seek.
Well, we got Keith doing the obvious. Violent.
Mommy. Not allowed. You're not allowed.
Who's telling you that?
This is a mail. We're getting a mail here. There are secrets that are not to be told.
The obvious is reading.
Don't say that word in this house. You need to keep doors.
What the fuck was that?
What
the hell was that?
Yeah.
We got some.
That's right in front of the fucking camera.
Face?
It's a face. Feel the cold chills?
Yeah.
It's like a move.
I'm freezing.
What? Oh, look at that. That's a window. Did you see the face in front of it?
Yeah, I did.
And now it's gone. It's gone now.
There was a male in that room that's almost very strict. It's almost very strict. It's like you're going against God.
Because they don't like that.
I'm going to tell you something from me, okay? The sound we heard behind me was
Not there.
Asa had never reconciled himself to his daughter's death, to Mary's death. It was really about him finally coming to terms with the fact that his daughter died.
respect him. Please help. I am not a.
Give help. Give help.
I am not what he said I was. Please correct the story. Please correct it.
You had moved on, and she was in a bad place, and she called you and came to help us so she would not suffer the same fate. Your father felt guilty about this and wanted to bring you back and encouraged through the hypnosis you come back so that he could say he was sorry.
Feel sorry for him. He is still needing to learn.
Very tragic life.
She just wanted love. You just wanted love.
Left out.
They thought I was wrong.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Very.
It brought relief to Mary's father that he felt a lot of guilt over having put her in an asylum. And this was her way of coming back through Rancy.
Oh, wow.
To, I don't know, forgive him more or less, or to put his mind at ease.
We asked if most people believed if you were an angel or a devil. You know what they said? They said you were an angel.
She wants me to smile for you.
Good response. Some responses have gone almost 3/4 of the way across the scale.
Light. Light.
Sir, I have forgiveness for all now.
Angel. Rest.
Well, in May of 1878, Mary announced that she was going to have to leave very soon. And in the coming days, she let go of Lurancy Venom's body.
Mary left control. Lurancy took full possession of her own body.
The Raw family was upset. They didn't want to see their daughter go. But at the same time, it was the only course of action that could be taken.
Lurancy kind of woke up one morning and told the Roth family she wanted to go back home.
I sat and watched sadly as Mrs. Roth cried. She would have to lose her daughter again for a second time.
Then after a while, it just all went away, like I didn't think about it no more. And
There was tons of garbage in me that got sucked out. And then at the end, I could breathe again. I was free.
After 3 months and 10 days, Laurency came back into her body and walked back across town and lived out the rest of her life as Laurency Venom and with her family.
Laurency Venom went home, lived a normal life, married young, had more than 11 children, and went on to a very happy and long life. Mary Roth moved on to the other side.
We have seen enough to convince us that the case of Laurency Venom is one of the most authenticated cases of spiritual possession in history.
I have one picture here of Laurency with her youngest daughter. The youngest daughter was born in 1906. The last time I saw her, and her daughter, Daisy, I believe. But that was in 39. She died August 13, 1952 in Long Beach. Well, that's the way it came to me through my mother, to our family, as a thing that happened, but that it was a good thing. I like to think it was an angel.
We have come to